Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to go over Cynthia AS as a 5-star, of course, and I'll do a little bit of gameplay and let you know what I think about her. But most important question of all is
she hot or not?
Oh yeah, she's hot. I'd open her book any day. Anyways, I'd like to give a shout out to one of my YouTube members, Alan Walker. Thanks for your support. Now, first of all, Cynthia AS does deploy /zone, so if VC also heals 50% HP. She does not have a move that preemptively sets zone, but she can VC it in. And note, there is a specialized weapon, Illusion Speed, which I'll get into, that works very well for her. Now, Scintillement is a crit damage boost 100% for her for one turn. Very, very useful. Now, her windshield still has some niche use, but I'm not sure if you need 50%. Not demonstrated in this video. And also, her Tornado Hertog is a 4-star move. Again, for the purposes of this video, I will not review that move, only because you probably won't be using that since she has 2 AS moves instead. Now, that being said, her first move, the Guerre pour deux, is the one that enhances max HP for herself and ally to the right. So if she's on slot 4, she will give it to slot 1. Otherwise, it's 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so forth. It lasts for 5 turns and restore all statuses, which is not bad. In any attack or type zone, awakens zone and regens for everyone for those 2 units for 5 turns. Now, the Vent Brillant is the user self-damages 50%, preemptive wind/AoE, strength increased based on HP consumed to a maximum of 35 times damage, and obviously in another zone, it guarantees a crit. So you do need a maximum of at least 7,000 HP to deduct 3,500 HP upon use, 50%, by which she'll do maximum damage. So here's her 5-star board. Note that her normal moves actually consume very little MP. And I have a feeling that it's because she does have some restrictions both in her abilities as well as her equipment, depending on what you're using to get max HP. Note that she also is a bookworm as well as royalty. So you can definitely use those personalities to the max. So let's take her out for a spin. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So obviously, being a wind/user, she's going to be very effective against fire type units. Normally, the Vent Brillant is more than enough. It does damage her, so unless you have a way to heal after each farming move, you're really going to have some issues maintaining her DPS. Because remember how I said, her damage depends on the amount of HP consumed, and if she doesn't heal, which I'll show you how to bypass that, her damage is going to be reduced quite a bit. Now, in many fights, what you're going to do is set up with the pour deux, which actually gives her the increased HP max, also awaken zone if you do have a zone, followed by the Scintillement, which will give crit damage up 100%, which is obviously more damage, and finally, just the slash move after that. Now, in our first example, we're going to take on some old dual Hachios, and of course, this pair, which is the One Wheel and Genkame, is weak to wind to demonstrate some of her abilities. Now, keep in mind that you can definitely set up most of your buffs and debuffs within an AF, especially if you have units such as Scion Scyther, which can do 1 turn, preemptive AF for wind, or if you have access to the Wind Zone Grasta, which is found from one of the more recent boss rush stages. In this case, we're going to do, no AF right here on the first one. And the reason for that is we do want to definitely not only awaken zone to maximize our damage, we also need her pour deux to give her maximum HP. Because the problem is, she doesn't start with 7,000 HP. She actually only starts with 3,500 or so. And so she actually requires in her equipment the Illusion Sword, which not only gives MP consumption moves, it also does give HP plus 1,000. In this case, you'll also note that she does have the same badge in all our demonstrations, which is the HP plus 2,000 at the cost of 50% MP. And then finally, when she does her moves, then she can get into the 7,000 range, as you can clearly see. Now, note that she does consume 50% of HP each attack, and so unless you have something like an Aquaji in the back healing her for essentially full each round, or someone within the battle healing every round, it's going to be difficult to kind of maintain that. Note that her move does give regen 2000. However, if you're consuming 3500 and you're only regenerating 2000, your damage is going to drop off, and especially in AFs, unless you can heal every hit, they're going to have some major problems. And so you have to account for that and plan for that if you are maximizing the damage for AS Cynthia. Of course, being that she is a single hit, she can make use of things like break and other things, especially since her move is preemptive. Now, in terms of preemptive, note that the fastest unit does their preemptive first, followed by the next fastest. She's only a mid-speed kind of unit, about 250 offhand, including some gear and stuff like that. So if you have your Kiro being much faster in general, he can set up the break ahead of time, and then obviously his is preemptive, and then hers will go after that. Now, in our second example, we're going to go fight the same two bosses. However, we're going to use our first turn AF using a Boreas method from Cyan Scyther to set up as many buffs and debuffs on the enemy as possible. Setting Pain, for example, obviously we want to give the Pour Deux to give the increased HP max. We also have RCF, helping with extra buffs and debuffs. And finally, don't forget that you really want to cast a Scintillamont to give her crit damage plus 100. So if you can play a good AF piano, you can stack all those things. If not, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to set up. And note that if you do a first turn AF, it's hard to get all those moves in and then land a really large hit. So against some tougher bosses where they either resist or have high innate resistance, you might only get 1 or 2 rounds of hits, being that you're setting up everything in ahead of time. That being said, if you get the weakness and you can exploit the enemy, you can see that she can still hit 1 hit for 1 billion damage. So certainly not bad. But, being that she does really rely on self-boosting, which essentially costs 2 moves, her crit damage up, her HP max up, and then followed by the DPS, it's tough. Now, note that one thing about her DPS move, the slash is only guaranteed crit in another zone, or awakened zone. And some of the newer fights either break zone, change zone, or things like that. And so if you have no way to awaken zone, I know she can awaken her own zone, but if the zone is broken, her DPS will drop precipitously because you can't guarantee crit. So I'll show you an example of that to show some of her shortcomings, as well as how I found at least one way to overcome it. Obviously, there's many ways to overcome such deficiencies. However, in this case, we're going to use some fun units here. Obviously, we just demonstrated Cyan Scyther already. We have normal style Dunarith. Yeah, that guy from a long time ago. But keep in mind, the normal style unit actually has something called Blessed Soul. Not only heals, but also gives guaranteed crit for your entire party for 3 moves. Now that's not a lot, but at least allows her to guarantee her crit so that she can land maximum DPS. Obviously, RCF can do the Grudge Spark, which gives 75 up and down in a zone. Keep in mind, you saw that damage for 20 million or so. There's no pain status on the enemy, and it already is doing 20 million. And keep in mind that Cynthia AS is equipped with all pain Grasta. So when there is pain inflicted, using one of other units as pain setters, her damage can be quite substantial, even against units like the twins, where they have no innate resistances. But like I said, you can see she does require quite a bit of support, most notably the Nkwaji in the back healing repeatedly. Obviously, an Awakened Zone really does help her DPS, but the fact that she does need a big setup is difficult. And since I didn't do an AF, I didn't get Scintillamont for increased crit damage. But that being said, even without that, she is doing quite a bit of damage. Note that with 3,500 HP consumed, her damage modifier is about 5,600, which is in line or higher than many of the older units out there. I mean, I think even True Manifested Suzette, which is my waifu, of course, I think she's in the 2,000 range. But like I said, it's different because Suzette only needs 1 hit, which is Demonic Strike, and then spam Dragon Assault over and over again. So again, with an Awakened Zone and Pain set on the enemies, you saw 100 million slash damage for each unit, which is quite good, more than enough for some of the older bosses. Some of the newer bosses may need a little bit more to kind of end it, but it's still nice. But really what this portion of the video is to demonstrate that she needs a crit setter, because you cannot guarantee all, Awakened Zone at all times guarantee crit. And I will say, considering she's only 2 months old, she's still in a current banner, I really do feel that that's a loss, because if you think about units that are in the last 6 months or even year, a lot of them have guaranteed crit hits. Let's think about units like Eva, Icicle Sorch, guaranteed crit. Neptune is guaranteed crit. Ultra Skia has, I think, guaranteed crit, or can help set crit. You know, Ultra Hismina can definitely set auto crit, and so on and so forth. And so I do feel that that is essentially the standard, especially for newer units. I know older units don't have guaranteed crit, but all the newer units, especially the powerful ones, should have auto crit, because, like I said, you can say, oh, Will, why don't you equip a void weapon or something like that? She doesn't have enough max HP, and so she almost requires the Illusion Speed's weapon plus 10. Final thing I'll say is that because Illusion Speed does give MP consumption, you can change her Pain Grasta that has MP consumption or Rose with Thorns to another Pain Grasta. That's my mistake as I was doing some experimentation. So in conclusion, AS Cynthia definitely has some uses. She can have the potential for massive amounts of damage. However, I do feel that her gear and equipment setup is very restrictive. You need an HP badge, illusion weapon, plus potentially 1 or more units to help boost her HP max. Otherwise, she's going to do limited damage. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.